Hello everyone, it's Moonkin FTW here, back with another episode of the RCT3 Coaster Challenge. In this episode we are tackling the Sea Serpent, which doesn't really have a lot of options. It's basically a shuttle coaster, so you go backwards, you drop, and then you basically set off, and fortunately you can't make any turns, so it's just going to be, how do you say, just one line, if you will. There's no corners or anything. But there's some pretty, decent features. So it has zero gyro, it has looping, so you can do a little bit with it, but it's still going to be a pretty basic design. But I had a very cool idea for this, which is because it's a sea serpent type of roller coaster, meaning the whole kind of roller coaster is themed after a serpent. I thought about recreating or making this in the style of the Loch Ness Monster. So you can see I'm already experimenting how this would look. Basically, you have this track that goes up and down, like, if you want to create airtime, blah, blah, blah. But there's one section that is above ground and the other section is below ground. And of course, the section below ground, that will be covered with water. So it really looks like a serpent, just like the Loch Ness Monster, which has, part of its body or whatever you want to call it, partly above water and partly underwater. And I think that's going to be, look really, really awesome. But it does mean that it takes a bit of a time for me to figure out the pacing of the roller coaster, just how deep it needs to go, and also how I can create as little, how do you say, I want the tunnels to be as small as possible, basically, like the entrances and the exits. Because if it's going to be very bulky, it's not going to look that great. So you saw me designing the roller coaster multiple times, moving it around, changing a few things. But now that the layout is pretty much done, I can focus on the lake. Now I'm going to make this very shallow, so it's going to be very easy for me to build some custom supports. Because the deeper it is, the harder it is to properly place custom supports. So this is going to be, you can already see the outline of the lake, if you will. And you can already kind of see it taking shape, how the serpent looks like Loch Ness, with it partially being above water and underwater. Also, because I really wanted to stick with that serpent theming, I'm not going to build a station, because that would kind of look kind of weird. You have this serpent and it has this block object on its body, and it wouldn't look really great. So the main focus, of course, is just the fact that it's shaped to be like the Loch Ness Monster, and of course the surroundings. So of course the Loch Ness Monster, it's in the lake, and around the lake I'm going to make some hills and some pine trees, because I forgot exactly where it was, but I believe it's in one of the Scandinavian states, or at least a bit more north of Europe, if you will. So we're going to go for some pine trees, trying to make, again, some sort of a national forest where the Loch Ness Monster resides. Which is kind of cool, because there is a real Loch Ness Monster coaster. I believe it's in Busch Gardens. I forgot, someone can correct me here. But it's a really, really cool roller coaster. It's an old school arrow looper, and it has interlocking loops, and that's super cool. But that one actually does have corners and turns. It's not shaped like this serpent, basically. So that's a fun little fact. So here, of course, I'm creating the path all the way to the serpent, because I want people to be able to ride it. And it looks very janky like this, because again, you can't build diagonal paths. So I'm gonna use some help with a well-known add-on for me, which is BC's Path Mods, where it allows me to I can actually make diagonal pathing, and it's gonna look so much better. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're just gonna go ahead and make some diagonal pathing, so it doesn't look as janky. And I like it. I like the wooden kind of, what is it, bridge, I guess it's called, that kind of goes to the Loch Ness Monster. And it's coming together quite nicely. I mean, this is more scenery focused, if you will. And in terms of support, this is going to be pretty simple, because the track is pretty simple as well. So I'm just going to add some mechanic there, and I'm just going to speed up the footage to already make the guests go here. And so now let's play some custom supports. I'm going to use Moby Steel Jungle for this. It's going to be some pretty simple designs. I'm going to make them mostly from scratch, but because it's so few, it's it doesn't matter if I make a few from scratch. It's just, it's not going to take a whole lot of time. So just like always, I'm using a vertical beam, and then there's support from a slanted beam. So it's a pretty simple but effective design. And again, I didn't want to make these supports very bulky, because of course, the Loch Ness Monster doesn't have support, so I didn't want it to be very bulky. I wanted the main focus, of course, to be the body of the Serpent, if you will. So it's just going to be some simple stuff. I'm going to add a T support here because it's a 0-0. I really think it does need a T support there. So we're just going to add that. And I think the black with the kind of, like a pastel shade green or whatever you want to call it, I think it looks really nice. So I'm not exactly sure which color Nessy was. Let's just call her Nessy. I believe it's like a shady green or something. So here we have the final support, which is at the tail, which is at the end of the roller coaster. And I'm just going to do the same thing that I did with the beginning, where you get pulled up and then you drop down like a shuttle launch. And that's mostly it. I'm just going to fine tune a bit the tunnel, so when you're riding this it doesn't look very janky. So I'm just going to cover it with some dirt and also make a support here and there to make sure that there's not too much room between the tunnel and of course the first support out of the water, basically. So I'm just going to do that to make sure that's all nice and covered. Again too, I'm going to change this footer a little bit there. And that's mostly it. And there you go. That is my iteration of the Loch Ness Monster. I'm very sorry, by the way, about the flickering of the water. I'm not sure what was up. I restarted RCT3 multiple times. It just keeps happening. I guess it's just because it's an old game running on new hardware, and I guess this complete edition hasn't been optimized that well. But still, if you just look at the design, I think it's a really cool idea. This is quite a simple coaster, so to use this, I think it's pretty awesome, if I say so myself. So let's go ahead and ride this. Let's see what it's like to ride the Loch Ness Monster. So as I explained, because it's a shuttle launch, we're first going to be slowly but surely lifted up in reverse, basically. And here we go. Here's the first drop. And into a bit of an airtime hill. And here's the first tunnel. Nice. Underwater right now into a 0-0. That's also pretty cool. And then into the tail. Nice. Oh, it's actually very close to the end. I might make one more, but for now it's fine. And now we go back once again into that 0-0. Into that little airtime hill, which now is a little bit slower, of course, because we're going back. And that's it. That is the Loch Ness Monster. So I'm very happy with the way this turned out. I think it looks absolutely awesome. Really happy that I had this idea, because I was looking at this design and I was going, what can I do with this? Not much. And then it just kind of hit me, and I think it's pretty awesome. I'll let you guys be the judge. And as always, I hope you guys like this episode. I'll be back pretty soon, but until then, have yourself a wonderful day.